What's up? Ariannaarmani here, back with another video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about why I chose to do, or how I ended up going from a home birth to a center birth, and why those were more so my options as opposed to like traditional medical care. So I just want to start off before I get into this story with saying that for me, going this route and going to a birth center using midwives, doulas, birthing assistants, as opposed to like a traditional OB, was all about the sense of protection for one, and control that I felt like it gave me in personalizing my medical care in a time where everything was so ridiculously uncertain during COVID-19 and how things were changing every single day. And so going this route for me was really mainly about my comfort level and feeling like the people who were going to be taking care of me were people that I already knew, as opposed to being in a situation where I get shuffled into the hospital as a number. So the main thing that I'm going to say before I even dig into the details of this story of how, you know, one step led to another, is just that doing it this way helped my anxiety times 100, because it made me feel like I had a sense of control in a time where there really isn't any control and anything you can do, just because of COVID-19 and how things are progressing. So I don't really have a list this time. It wasn't really like a checklist type thing for me. It was more just like my experiences and my knowledge that made me feel like those were better options for me. So I'm just gonna treat this more like a story time, and I'm gonna just go for it. So if you want to know why I decided to do midwives, doulas, birthing centers as opposed to traditional OB in a hospital, stay tuned. Alright, so a little bit of a timeline. So I'm currently, when you guys see this video, I'll be 33 weeks, but I'm 32 weeks. It's in the middle of my 32nd week right now. So I found out that I was pregnant on Christmas morning. And as everybody knows, a few months later, we were in the house for COVID. So before COVID even began, I had always been really big on like, oh, I want to at least labor in water, or have a water birth, and I want to be all natural. I don't want to have any epidurals, no medication. I've said that since since years before I even knew that I was gonna have any children. I've always said that. Like, my family, anybody you know, my family and friends, they legitimately call me the hippie of the family, because I am really like all natural. I would give birth in a field under a tree if it was legal. Like, I just want to have the full birthing experience. So that's just me personally. Just going along with that, you know, it automatically kind of counted me out of the hospital thing, because there aren't very many public hospitals that have birthing tubs, or if they do have birthing tubs, you're only allowed to labor in them, and then you have to get out to push. I wanted the option to be able to be in the tub to labor and get out if I wanted to, but if I didn't want to, I wanted to have the option to stay in. So that automatically kind of pushed me towards looking for birthing centers. Now, originally, before I started looking at birthing centers, I was recommended to an OB in my area. She was great. I liked her. I had my first 4 appointments with her, and I also had a couple appointments with a specialist, because I had antibodies in my system for parvovirus, which in adults just presents as like a cold or something, but if it affects the baby, it could affect their brain and their heart and their blood flow. So I had a couple additional appointments just to make sure that I only had antibodies that were old and that they weren't new and that they weren't going to do any harm to the baby. I liked the practices I was going to. Had no problem with them. What put me on edge was during the start of COVID, my very next appointment, they started canceling appointments for one, and then they had another OB come in. So it wasn't even the woman that I had been seeing before, it was some new lady that I had never seen before, and they even changed the office. I was not okay with that. Anybody who knows me will tell you that, like, when it comes to big things like that, like medical care, eye care, dental care, I'm a stickler for being with the person I feel like already knows me and that I'm already comfortable with. I'm not big on like, oh, go to this doctor for one thing, this doctor for another thing, this doctor for another thing. I don't like that. Like, I've had the same primary care physician since my birth, and she is still my primary care, and I go to her first for anything that I need before she sends me to anybody else. I see her first because that's who I know, and then she outsources me to people that she trusts, and that's kind of how that works for me. I'm not really big on like, oh, I'm just gonna go here for one thing, I'm gonna go here for another thing, oh, I'm gonna see a different doctor than I saw last time. No. I like to be with one consistent medical professional that will follow me through as long as follow through can be done. I drive all the way over an hour from my house to go to the same dentist that I've had for the last 3 or 4 years. Like, it's that serious for me. I'm not big on a whole bunch of change when it comes to something as serious as medical. So anyway, this OB practice that I was going to, one of the things that I liked about them before the switch was they provided a free doula service to all first-time moms. So I had gotten into the program because I was really excited about it, because I knew from the jump that I wanted a doula. And one of the reasons why I pushed off my search for finding a birth center originally was because I was getting the free doula services through this OB, and I didn't want to lose my doula. I knew that if I decided to pursue another route, I had the possibility of losing my doula or having to pay for them out of pocket, and I wasn't sure how I was going to handle all of that. So I had stuck with it right up until, like I said, they wanted to change my OB. The moment I heard that like I was gonna be in a new office with a new OB, I immediately started like feeling anxiety and going into panic, and I was like, oh, I don't want to do that. Like, if I have to make this decision right now, like, now's the time for me to figure out what I'm gonna do and what's best for me. So that's when I started saying, like, I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna have a home birth. Like, I was determined and dead set, like, I'm gonna have a home birth. I'm gonna do this at home with my doula. I'm gonna find a midwife. My family can be here. That is what I'm going to do. So I went to my doula. I told her my situation, like, you know, I'm not comfortable with this whole OB switch thing. I'm not comfortable right now even going to the hospitals because of the COVID thing and how they have shut everything down. May backtrack. That was another huge thing for me. So when COVID started and the hospital started to narrow down on how many people could be with you in the room, it wasn't really a big deal because I'm not one of those people that wanted my fine china on display for everyone to see me give birth anyway. But I wanted to have at least 4 key people with me. 5 if you include my doula. I wanted to have all 5 of those people with me because it was just important to me. Also, the hospitals had narrowed it down to only being able to have 1 person in the delivery room with you. And some of the hospitals were even saying that if there was no like decline at all, then by like July or so, they were going to it might even be broken down even further to say that only the mom could be in the room. And I was not okay with that. I was not okay with the fact that as a first-time mom, I would be shuffled into a hospital. Basically, my child and I would be pinned with a number, and that I would have random doctors and random nurses who knew absolutely nothing about me outside of the information they collected on my way in to be looking after me. Because giving birth is a dangerous thing. Like, carrying children can be a very dangerous thing. I'm not okay with going into the hospital with people I don't know and then having no one there to speak for me if it gets to a point where I can't speak for myself. If an emergency was to occur, if I was simply too exhausted to make decisions on my own, just having my mom on FaceTime is not enough. I need her physical body inside of the hospital room being the first line of defense for me and my child. And so I'll be like, there's no way, regardless of what COVID is doing, that I am okay possibly having to go to the hospital by myself to have my first child. It's just not gonna happen. Anything could happen. And so I was like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. So that's how we got to home birth. So once I decided I wanted to do a home birth, I went back to my doula. I told her what my concerns were. She understood, and she began to send me contact names of midwives that she knew. So eventually I ended up getting in contact with one of the midwives. This midwife wouldn't take my insurance, but she worked for a company that she knew would. It was a private practice, and it was Black owned. Don't want to skip over that. Both my doula company and my midwife company are Black owned, and I thought that was amazing and super, super, super important to me to be, you know, wrapped up in the fold under Black women. I just thought that was important, you know, because there's a lot of things that go on when it comes to like the mortality rate of women of color and their children in the hospital. So the fact that I was working with Black owned companies, my spirit knew I was going in the right direction from jump. So she referred me to this midwife service, and at this point I was already 22 weeks maybe, so it was late. It was very late to be trying to get a spot. It was very late to be trying to get a spot with midwives, because they can only schedule so many births, you know, within a month, because they have to make sure that they're going to be able to be there. So once I got information for the center, I called them up. They had space for me. I was excited. I went and I toured the center. I met the midwives. There's 5 of them that work there. So I meet a new midwife every single time I have an appointment, which I really like, because on the day of, it could be any of the 5 of them. It's just whoever's on call. So I do like that. And when I got there and I toured and I saw their big, large birthing tubs and all of that, and they told me that I could labor in the water and push in the water, that's kind of when I was set and made the decision that instead of staying home for the birth, I would just go to the center. And the center's only 20 minutes away from my house. So that is how I decided that I was going to do the center instead of at home. And I still have the full option to be at home. I have to buy supplies for either or, just to make sure that I have things in my birth bag that I need. So if I decide I want to stay home, they'll come to me, and if I decide that I want to go to the center, they will be there to meet me there. I go home a few hours after I give birth, like no more than 6 hours, as long as everything's good. And then within like 12 hours or so, they come and do 2 in-home checks over the course of the next 2 days. I've already scheduled the appointments that need to be scheduled, so that after baby's born, they will go see the pediatrician, have their eyes checked, have their ears checked. And yeah, so they pretty much take care of everything. They map it out, they outline it for you. I'm 32 weeks now, and I already have all of those things mapped out, which makes me feel really prepared for what is ahead. I've been with these midwives since like my 22nd week. I'm in my 32nd week now, and I've just loved my experience. And it's mainly just because I find a great amount of comfort in knowing that the people who are caring for me and delivering my baby are women who have been with me through the entire time. So in the middle of the night, when I've gotten like severe cramps and I've had to call a midwife, a doula, or send a text message, like those are the people that have been with me through the entire time. Those are the ones that know about my tomato allergy that I developed while I've been pregnant. They're the ones who know the positions that my baby has turned in. They are the ones who know everything. And I feel so much relief and so much control and so much power and mentally and emotionally ready to be in labor and to give birth, because I know that the people who are surrounding me are almost like family now. Like they've known me. Like my doulas have known me since my 16th week. My midwives have known me since my 27th week. It's important to me that these are the people who will be delivering my baby. They care for me just as much as I feel like they care and love my child already, even in the womb, and I just trust them. So that's a big thing for me. It was just really just the trust and the control thing. They know exactly what my birth plan is and what I want and what I don't want. And so that is the reason why I chose this, how would I put it? Why I chose this form of essentially completely personalized care for this experience instead of going the traditional route and going to a hospital or a doctor. So that's it. That's why I did it. So if you have any questions about how I got into the program or any of those things, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, let me know. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I do plan to document and vlog the actual birth, but yeah, so that is it. If you have any questions for me, just let me know. But if not, until next time.